Washington State making some news. Jon Haarlow officially the athletic director. No more interim tag. And guess what? That is a no-brainer. Let's talk about it.
If you're interested in being great, you better look hard into Washington State. You want to be great? Go to Washington State, baby.
Let's go. Welcome on into the Palouse Playbook Podcast, a Washington Sports Cougars podcast. And we have a fun episode for you today. Full crew here for the first time this spring. Really excited to dive into this one. And it's a no-brainer that we're all here because we are super excited to talk about this news. Jon Haarlow officially named the athletic director. No more interim tag. There's no more beating around the bush here. We need to get right down to it. Where all the programs are scrambling and trying to learn this new Pac-12. Washington State chooses, for the first time, at least it seems like in quite some time, a little bit of continuity. And they go and they remove the interim tag off Jon Haarlow. I'm going to start with you, Chad, right off the bat. Let's get right to it. What do you think about this move?
Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense. I just think about Night of Cougar Athletics, just him being very attentive, being right up there with just everybody and just talking, just preaching just about like what we need as far as Cougar fan base and how we're going to be involved at the same time, talking about Coach Moore. So I really like it. And one thing that I kind of just start thinking about is, and what I want to see us start progressing towards is a athletic director that I was very fond of, Bill Moose, and what he did really well. He built our athletic facilities. He spent, right? I mean, managing a budget is really tough right now, so I get that. But when it comes to like what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be funding it, it's all going to be all about the athlete. I feel like when it comes to Pullman, like it's that perfect road from if you're a Power 4 player coming down or if you're a FCS player coming up, this is the perfect place you need to be. So my hope, and I know President Cantwell is doing all the right things and she's saying all the right things right now. And so, and it's the athletics is at the front door of this university. So you got to really appreciate everything about that's going on right now. So when I say like when Haarlow is getting this job today, and I loved everything about that, and you can see how it's going to be all about the athlete going forward. I'd love to let's continue that. How do we build on what's already been built, though? Don't just because we have the facilities that Moose built, everything, like we're doing little facelifts, but how, and you can see it though, like how we trying to progress this as far as the video goes and videography, like they're bringing in the videographers. So it'll be interesting how we kind of progress things, like more of a younger attitude. But I'm excited as far as alumni goes. This is big news.
We've seen him cheering in the student section at basketball games. It's not just a football only thing, although he did have a key role in hiring Kirby Moore. And he's been embedded, Kyle, he's been embedded in this program since 2021. CFO, he's had leadership roles before. In the offseason that we have just gone through, where buzzwords have been looking for stability, where have been questioning loyalty. There's been some buzzwords. There's no doubt about that with Washington State in the last couple of months. You get Jon Haarlow that sticks around. What do you think about this move? Do you think this is the right call for not going out of the box, for removing that interim tag?
I think if you look at what Betsy, looking at what, we could have found somebody probably within this time period, right? But you look at what Jon did. I just kind of went back and started looking through all the things that he helped kind of spearhead. They talked about $3.4 million renovation for, the locker rooms, the $10 million fan experience. Not, as you mentioned earlier, hiring Kirby Moore, also hiring the head soccer coach, Chris Sidowicki, which was a huge hire in that, right? The guy did everything he was supposed to do in the interim role to not lose this job. And I saw people in the Twitterverse saying this was the safe hire. We should have went out. Chad just mentioned it. Having like that stability in Pullman is a big deal. And Christian, you just mentioned it. Loyalty is a big deal. And having someone that went through this, and I think there was maybe a little bit of Ann McCoy, who did an amazing job at her time here in the 2 decades plus. I think people were a little afraid of, okay, if we have someone who doesn't have a different point of view, this or that. But again, she was here 20 plus years. He's been here since 2021. I would say a little different perspective. And he had a good 15 years elsewhere to kind of bring that vision into kind of the Cougar athletics. So I think this was while it was a quote unquote safe hire, it was the right hire, and he proved it in the last 6 months. And as I mentioned earlier, if he can help us do all these things with that interim flag kind of in the back of your head going, my job is not secure no matter what I do. Just think now when he feels that job security, that loyalty now being brought back to him, sky's the limit. I'm stoked.
Yeah, and you don't have to win the press conference. If people want to say it's safe, that's fine. That's not the worst thing in the world, for the record, especially when you're like Pullman and you're going into a brand new territory with this new Pac-12. Although you're not switching conferences, you're about to see 7 new opponents just in football alone that are now going to count in conference games. And of course, football rules the world. Speaking of football, if Kirby Moore hits, this hire looks great for Jon Haarlow. If he doesn't, well, he's directly tied to Haarlow, but there's a lot of Washington ties in there. Gavin, I still think this is a win. I think this is a huge win for Washington State. But what is the next move now? Now that an interim tag is pulled off, what do you want to see Jon Haarlow do to make that next step to not just be part of the new Pac-12, but be one of the top premier programs in a conference that you have been in for quite some time? To show you are an OG for a reason.
Yeah, first things first, shout out Jon Haarlow. Congrats. This is awesome. I'm pretty sure he might, I'm not saying he's sweating bullets, but he's just sitting there the whole time like, all right, what else do I got to do? And I've seen so many comments on Twitter that are anti Jon Haarlow and the basketball team needs to get rid of the head coach and this and that. I disagree. There's a buyout clause in there that you have to take into consideration. He's put out some fires. He's made some great hires. He's done some really good things in a short amount of time that he's been, even just the interim. And you're finally getting to see his decisions come to fruition. It's hard as an assistant athletic director to have final say because you don't. And so now that he's getting final say, you're seeing everything come to fruition. And yes, Ann McCoy did a fantastic job in her tenure here. It was just it's time for our president and our athletic director to be on the same page about almost everything. And that may have crossed paths between Ann McCoy and Betsy Cantwell. I don't know the behind the scenes there, but shout out to Ann McCoy for the tenure that she gave and the phenomenal job that she did. But Jon Haarlow, and here's the direction. We have a president that's doing a great job of putting sports first. When that's not what we're used to. Schultz, I don't think he did a great job of doing that. And I know there's a lot of Cougs out there that have there's things that he did well, and putting sports and going through the COVID was not easy. I'm not saying it wasn't a challenging time for him and everything, but we're in a new direction. We're going in a positive direction. Everything's all good. Right now, you're seeing a local guy that has just won this fan base over in a matter of months. In fact, it was probably even less than that. But the next step for him is to enter the scene in the Pac-12. I'm not saying they need to be on top financially, but on top wins wise. Like, this is a conference with some good teams, but you should be at the top in some of your major sports, and then obviously that's football. So that's what I'd love to see. And it's not directly tied to Jon Haarlow. He's not out there playing and running the football and all that stuff, but he's making decisions here. So I'd like to see that over his tenure here. That's what I'd like to see, is us be at the top of the Pac-12, and if you could do so financially, awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned it up. Talk about athletics. Coug baseball did pull the upset today over Oregon State. So you want to add a little bit to the athletic, badge of honor. There's another one to add. So.
They did lose
18-0 celebration too. I see it.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. No, I like it, and I don't know. I just really think this next. I got to go back to President Cantwell and what she talked about. It's going to be the conference of entertainment. I think that's the quote she had, or conference of. It was just more of just. I think it was along. Somebody back me up on this. What was the
she wants to prioritize entertainment and trying to get people out to the games. Like, that was it's fan experience. And you look at
if you've looked at WSU football, their Twitter page, everything they've been posting, they've had roles open for these videographers or somebody that more of like video editing. And it's going to be all about bringing like the practice, the product, because we're in Pullman, bring it to the West Side, bring it to your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Shout out to this videography team. I mean, that the stuff that they're putting together, the episodes
work.
We haven't seen an athletic department come face to face with the fans like this before. This is so awesome.
And and it seems like they're doubling down on it. So I like that. And I made the comment of like, Haarlow, like, I want you to do something more than facilities. Like, if this is your ripple, like, I like it. I like what I'm seeing.
Love it.
Joel, you want to speak? I know it's been like 11 minutes, and we wanted to get you in on this show. We did not forget
look like
about
he has many
welcome in.
faces.
No, this is
It looks like he's frozen in time, but
well, you guys hear me okay? I noticed that it's been like that for a while.
yeah, we can hear you, but you're frozen, which is hilarious because it looks like you're doing it the entire time.
I'm doing my best Knowles impression right
I
now.
was gonna say you've got me in spades now. So
Let's go.
With Jon Haarlow, obviously the reason he gets Kirby Moore, obviously that's a big deal, right? You've been paying attention to all these spring practices, these spring interviews. We haven't had a chance to talk to you about it since the spring started. What is your overall take on Kirby Moore so far? What are you liking about him?
I mean, A++ right now. You know, he professed out the gate, right? He's like, hey, I'm going to be a players first mentality and coach, right? I was like, I the confidence that he oozes, he could, not only does he do well in the interviews, but he can honestly ask himself his own questions. Like I love it. And it's all authentic. But when, from a player perspective, every interview that I listen to, the pieces of the puzzle that he's laid out, hey, here's the things that, is important to us. We want to be active. We want to be, the type of team that attacks. We want to be the type of, team that's consistent with our energy. We want to be the type of team that's like, is going to draw people in, having the type of offense, that can, put points on the board, having the type of defense that's going to be tough for other teams. All the other players are echoing it. And it's not just those that were bought in, say from last year, that, heard the spiel from when Kirby came in right away. And was like, hey, let's meet with these players. I'm going to make sure that you guys are priority. I'm going to recruit you first. But then also to those that transferred in, Jack Peterson, the tight end, he spoke adamantly about like, hey, I have this coach reach out to me that recruited me prior to UCLA and, connected the dots with him. Gyro, the defensive tackle, was like, yeah, talking to Kirby, he's such an authentic, real guy. I was like, this is a great place to be. Talking about the Q community, everything is echoing out. I'm excited. I was like, in an answer, I am so stoked. It doesn't take much for me to get excited, Christian.
You look stoked, Joel. I don't know if if somebody's watching on YouTube.
He looks so stoked. For our listeners on any other platform, not on YouTube, Joel's stuck and frozen, and it is actually quite hilarious.
So he's just laughing, and you're not getting it. It's just Joel stuck in time.
This is the look of I chose violence. Right.
But the authenticity though is super interesting to me. Like what makes the authenticity that Kirby Moore brings, like what makes it so contagious? Why do players translate it so good? As a former player yourself, Joel, like what makes you feel like that is such a huge win and you're already noticing that in spring?
I think what makes it so contagious is that it's any coach that comes to a player and says, hey, trust me, right? Trust me with at least the next year, in this modern day era, like you're committing X amount of time, of playing time, your hope as a player is like, okay, what you're saying is going to become true in action, and you're trying to watch, like, how does this play out? Right. Because, if someone can spit a really good game, they can get, have a really good interviews and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. And then behind the scenes, you're like, oh, this looks like something different. He seems to be the same, no matter where he's in front of a camera or behind the scenes when he's not knowing that he's being watched. And it's the players are they're coming around him as a nucleus and they're trusting the process. You can just hear it. Even when they're talking about the interviewers are asking them about their practices, their spring practices, hey, do you feel like you're getting to X, or do you asking some of those, I don't want to call it like gotcha questions, but those questions that are, poignant, right? To be honest, like basically trying to feel out like who's the number one quarterback? Is it Caden? Is it Owen? What are we looking at? They're unified. because they do trust the process, they do trust their leader, and that leader clearly and honestly is Kirby Moore. There's no question about it. They're like, this is the person that's going to lead us to promised land, and they're all saying the same thing, like, hey, we're going to do something special. I mean, flat out, Caden Betty, when he was interviewed, they did an article with him, and he's just like, our expectation is to win the Pac-12 championship. Like that is the goal. That is what we're looking at. We're not looking at this like just being relevant. No. We're looking to take over and lead, and it's coming from the energy portrayed through Kirby Moore. It's beautiful. I mean, again, I'm easily excited, but that's what I feel.
Yeah, and that's not unreasonable. I mean, let's look about it. Like if we look through the rest of the conference in the Pac-12, San Diego State had a great year last year. They might be good again this next year. Who knows? They did lose some key defensive players. Boise State had a down year in their comparison. Maybe they'll still be good. Oregon State, a lot of question marks there because there's brand new coaching staff. Utah State has Bronco Mendenhall, but they have a lot of quarterback changes as well. Texas State coming from the Sun Belt, they didn't have a great year overall. And Fresno State's still on year 2 of their new coach, and they have some quarterback questions to answer as well. Washington State, after they've been through this, they've been through this new coach thing multiple times in the last 3 years. They know what it takes to be able to do that reset. Kirby Moore feels already that he's already comfortable in his spot because this is where he's from. You have a little bit of stability in the athletic department. It doesn't seem out of the question if you win the Pac-12, the brand new Pac-12 in year 1 of its existence. Does that seem over-exaggerated? Chad, what do you think? I don't think so.
Christian, I just want to just take us back to that initial conversation, our first conversation going live. I mean, like when we talked about when Rodgers went to Iowa State, how we should be feeling as Cougs and how we should be progressing going forward, right? There's a reason why the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield, baby.
Love it. I loved it when you said
it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Just keep that one going.
I think it's more of like just the positivity that Cougs continue to have. And we have really great people in that building that really want success in Pullman. And I appreciate everything about it. That's just where I'm at right now. You can only do so much from Renton, Washington, though.
That's fair. Let's finish this show with probably the biggest storyline of the spring. Any new changes with the quarterback talks? We've heard some reports. We've seen some articles that Julian Duggar's starting to make a little bit of a bounce back, get a little bit more competitive with Owen Eshelman, with Caden Pinnock, excuse me. You don't want a winner in April, but you want to battle all the way up until August. And I think that's what we're going to get through spring, through fall. And I think we're getting a 3-way battle. I don't think we're going to have a pure winner. And I think just based off exactly what Joel said about how they have all their narratives exactly the same, that authentic feel, I don't think you're going to hear any extras. They're going to play those cards to their hands. Am I wrong? Gavin, what do you think about that?
Well, I love this. Will always be a weekly topic until the day that they choose it, because I look through the comments, I look through everything going on Twitter, everything that we're involved in. All of our engagement is, I see so many people saying Pinnock. I see so many people saying I like Owen Eshelman better. And then I see some people also tapping in on Julian Duggar. It is truly a fun battle that I hope we get to see unravel at the right time. And we know who we have going into game 1, unlike last year. I will, however, say Jack Thompson came out on Twitter and gave Caden Pinnock some flowers. He spoke very highly of what he saw with Caden Pinnock. He said he reminds him of a Russell Wilson, of a young Russell Wilson, and just like the head on his shoulders and the way that he carries himself.
Did I say that? Did I say that? Like I don't know, like day
I think you might have.
Maybe I don't know.
I think the throwing Samoan Jack Thompson also, I believe he said it on Twitter as well. So great minds think of like,
sounds like we need to have steak together, Jack.
Yes,
I love that.
Get Jack in here. Yeah, shout out Jack. Jack, you're awesome. Love all the stuff that you do, all the promotion for Coug stuff. If you happen to catch this show,
all in.
Yes,
all in.
Love me some Jack Thompson. He's a true Coug through and through. And it's just I'm not. I'll go back and say it. The guy has experience at this level. You're loving what you're seeing from all three of them, but Caden Pinnock might be his job to lose, in my opinion. And I know some people don't want to hear that, but that may be the ugly truth. We have 3 really good quarterbacks going at it, and that's the that's the great thing about this is it's a beautiful contest that we get to watch.
That's not a bad problem to have. Don't get me wrong, but for just the sake of this podcast, let's play a little devil's advocate. No better to play devil's advocate than the guy who likes Pepsi other than Coke, which I can't believe. And that's Kyle. Kyle, you need to play devil's advocate in this situation. And look, we're in the middle of a three-way quarterback battle. Last year, we're going back to last year now. There was a big battle between Jackson Potter with Zevi Eckhouse. The wrong decision was made apparently in spring practice and fall camp, and they wound up going to Zevi Eckhouse. How does Kirby Moore make sure that does not happen again?
Good question.
Nice.
It's a good question. I think Gavin mentioned it, I think probably last week, and I think it's maybe what Jimmy Rogers didn't understand is in practice, there's a difference between making bad decisions and kind of, treading the water of I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try this gamble just to see what happens, how it translates maybe into a game situation. I'm going to try to make a tight window throw now because I'm going to know where I'm at to, in practice versus, okay, I'm not going to test that theory out in a game and potentially lose it for my boys. So it's that fine balance of understanding, okay, you can clearly see that someone that's trying, like pitchers in spring training, they're working on something. They're testing their delivery. Maybe they made a tweak. But ultimately, I think when you look at this three-way battle, if it's neck and neck, the one with the truck is going to have the helm. So I think for Owen and for Duggar, they're really going to have to go above and beyond to supplant Caden. But the other way to look at it too, though, is the skill sets of all three of them. The kind of supporting cast might also dictate who you see out there. Right now, you're hearing about all the running backs. They talked about Phillips having a spectacular play. So, and then you're hearing a lot of things about the receivers. Like, you hear a couple guys here and there. You're hearing about the tight ends, Peterson in particular, having a really good camp. So I think you could also say, okay, well, based on what our skill players are doing or what we're going to kind of focus on, that might lean towards one quarterback or the other. So it's, again, as you're hearing things, it's been kind of Owen and Caden kind of being the 1A, 1B with Duggar and 2. But as this last kind of article came out, he had a great showing. So maybe he's making that late resurgence and getting himself back into that 3 quarterback mix. But at the end of the day, I think it's Caden's job to lose, as Gavin said, but the supporting cast might dictate something differently. And again, we got a lot of time in between now and August to see that, kind of.
And I'm going to end today's show on using that segue yet again. Good. You have terrible taste in soda, but you have good help on segues, Kyle. Thank you. You're speaking of that supporting cast, and Joel, I'm going to rely on you as a former player yet again to ask this question. With the supporting cast, knowing that you're in spring practice, preparing for fall, there's no extra transfer portal this year, so this team is what you got. How difficult is it to be able to trust and support all 3 quarterbacks in a battle, knowing that that's the leader of your squad, whoever gets that call when it's all said and done, through spring, through fall, all that good stuff? How tough is that, either on offense or defensive side, to be able to give love and support to all 3 of these players, knowing they're going through this right now?
It's a good question. I think it's tougher on the offense, but it's difficult. You have it's not to say that just like everybody has to bow before the feet of the known like QB1, but there is some type of homage that's paid of like honorable respect. Like, hey, this is a guy. Obviously during spring practice and really any practice, you're making sure that you're not beating up on your quarterback, but especially so when you're confirmed the one. That's something that is ingrained, especially on a defensive player's mind, but then also on the offensive lineman. Like, hey, what do we expect? What type of cadence is this person going to do? Like, you want to be used to it. Like, hey, our number one, this is how he likes to command, and this is how he likes to lead. This is how he throws. This is how he's gonna make a change potentially on audibles. So it's tough. It's something that as if for me, I mean, I was on defense, so selfishly, like, I wanted to know, like, hey, I'm not going to just put hands at any quarterback, but I want to know for sure, like, hey, this is the guy that's going to lead us into the charge. Like, make sure that he gets the right pressure on him. It sounds bad, but like, make sure that he's making good decisions and be tougher on the one that is your one. But but you hope that gets formulated out through the scrimmage that's coming up. It's going to be big, and then eventually through the spring game. It's going to be one of those things where you'll start to, even if it's not said, hey, this is our number one, you'll know based on who's getting the reps. Everyone's going to be aware. Whoever gets the majority of the reps, more than likely is going to be your QB1 when it comes to the spring ball game. That's typically how it goes, at least in my experience. Though I am an old head. I will admit it's probably been many moons since it might be a totally different deal. It might split even between the 3 or 4. But yeah, that's what it is tough. You need to know, like, hey, this is our true field general on offense.
I love that. That's such valuable insight. I love that former player perspective on this show. You got to get back on here. We got to get you on here more spring.
Yes,
this is great.
I'm here.
Getting this all 5. Yeah, you're here. The show stopper, not just your screen. That's what you got right here on the Palouse Playbook Podcast. Hey, thank you so much for listening or watching wherever you are. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're bringing you Washington State Cougars coverage like nobody else right here on the Palouse Playbook. You can see that. We're getting players. We're getting Coke versus Pepsi slander on the Pepsi side. There's a lot of really good stuff happening on this show. We got a lot of spring talk to talk about in the near future. And of course, always talking Cougs right here on the Playbook, the Palouse Playbook Podcast.